Have the option to do something.
Right.
So otherwise, we
But the interesting part is this little fountain in there.
thank you for that.
The retention.
Oh, yeah?
Say again?
It's like, is that what you're gonna have?
Oh, my others, I didn't want to, I was just lazy. I thought, okay, I will not do it again between now.
Living across from a pond.
Oh, man.
I understand trying
I got time to go home.
That looks like it's continued, always full pond.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
Send me an email next time.
I get on this page, if I want to open a document, I don't have to go up here to documents.
Yeah, they had the gavel down by me, and I'm like, I'm moving down the road. I had
The
another
one
Are you
on the
ready to do your
left
double on
between
Sunday?
my house and the barns, and it's always full.
Preliminary. You are the PhD in that area, so.
Well, there's other people learning though, so that's good. I had a guidance group last time.
I tried that.
I've been assured
They don't have much.
that if it's been a
And we got through it.
run field,
Being trained over to the
Yeah, exactly.
wouldn't be an issue.
Right, once for,
Okay, I've got,
yeah, I got
I
seven.
stood in my living room and looked out that window and seeing the top of the water during a rainstorm and got really.
Justin, whenever you're ready, I think it's officially 7 PM, but if you need a couple minutes, go ahead.
Give it a couple minutes, because Scott's.
Oh, Scott is, okay.
You know, when you're near those, but it's never been.
I forget.
Yeah.
Got some popped up blockers possibly. Might try that.
Steve,
Yeah. That
I don't see any cigarettes or candy
They
bar.
open them all there a bunch of times. Yeah.
Of course, there's no pocket
You
either.
should read it if you want to.
It opened it up a bunch of times.
That is pretty out there. I like that scarf.
Oh, thanks.
I just like scarves, period.
This one's not too far from yours.
There it is.
I should give this one to
It's not too far, it's behind us, yeah.
Boy, this is a big crowd that's coming in, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm prepared with that. I'm prepared with
I chatted with Justin too about, are they ready to lay out? I'll call. If you want to. The man of honor, thank you. Not bad, not bad. Good evening.
Now you can start.
Okay, now I can start. Scott's here and I have your approval, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Planning Commission meeting. And we will start with the, I should have up here, approval of minutes.
Having read the minutes, I don't see any corrections, so I'd make a motion that we approve.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. Bob? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, thank you.
I just want to call, if people were not here last week, you'll want to, or last month, you want to pull up the minutes of last month, because that's where the schedule is for next year. So if you want to go ahead and get meetings on your calendar.
Okay, thank you, Don. And then moving to new business, next would be 2023-1201, the Holtzclaw subdivision. Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, so the preliminary and final plat for the Holtzclaw subdivision was submitted in a timely fashion and reviewed for its conformity to the subdivision control ordinance. This replat of lots within the Kist Northern Addition is a slight reconfiguration of existing lots, as well as a merging of two smaller parcels to create 1.21 acre lot. The proposed replat meets the development standards for subdivision within an R1 zoning district. Since this replat does not create or impact any public infrastructure, it is the opinion of the Planning Department that the preliminary and final replat for the Holtzclaw subdivision in the Kist Northern Addition should be approved.
Okay. Were there any questions or comments from the board to Justin? None? Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Steve?
Thank you. Steve Snyder on behalf of the petitioner. I don't have anything to add to what Justin said. These are two previously platted lots as well as some vacated alleys. They're being consolidated. I've got an aerial photograph that might show you where it's at, but I'm sure that really doesn't make much difference. All we're doing is making the lots actually more conforming so they're saleable. There's a driveway that serves the one existing residence on one lot. This replat will leave that driveway completely on the lot instead of splitting it as it is now.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Steve?
Do you have any access to the second lot then?
Pardon me?
The new lot that's being created, then will it have access, a separate driveway?
To be access on Arthur Street, but it would have its own driveway if and when there's a residence constructed on it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition or just has questions they would like to ask about this request? Okay. Hearing nothing further, I'll close it to the public. Panel, do you have any thoughts? Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the preliminary plat.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, is this where we're going final two?
So being as the vote was unanimous, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules so we can vote on the final replat.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the final replat.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. This reminds me of grade school, when the teacher tells you everybody, say this. Anyway, okay, I think that does it. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have, what do we have here?
Do you need this signed before Steve leaves, or?
Well, we can deal with it after the meeting.
Okay.
He'll come back.
Okay, trying to get back to the, there we go. Next we have 2023-1202 Asherwood subdivision. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, and I do want to point out up front that what we're doing tonight is we're evaluating this PUD for potential recommendation to City Council because the development of a PUD does require action by the City Council. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. The preliminary plat for the Asherwood subdivision PUD has been submitted in a timely fashion and reviewed for its conformity to the subdivision control ordinance and section 13.2 regarding plan unit developments. The petitioner wishes to subdivide 62.46 acres into 169 lots containing a mix of attached and detached single-family residential units. Lots 146 through lots 169 are proposed as attached single-family residential units. All but 26 of the proposed 169 lots have sizes that conform with R1 residential zoning requirements. The non-conforming lots, which make this PUD necessary, have an average lot size of 6,900 square feet, which places them just under the square footage requirements for an R2 zoning district. The petitioner is also requesting 5-foot side yard setbacks, so that would make the houses a minimum of 10 feet apart if they went to that maximum throughout the subdivision, except where inhibited by easements or corner lots, which is in line with an R3 zoning district, which is throughout the city. Let's see here. As we evaluate the recommendation from the planning department, it is important to keep in mind the overall health and needs of the community as we help facilitate design or developments like this. The lack of housing necessary for talent attraction and retention has been highlighted by studies and committees tasked with community development. Offering a mix of housing types within the same subdivision is also a good practice to ensure greater access to utilities and services and a better quality of life for a variety of individuals with different income levels. So it is the opinion of the planning department that you should give a favorable recommendation to City Council for this proposed PUD.
Okay, are there questions or comments for Justin by the board?
I have some questions for the developer.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Justin.
Yep.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request, would you want to come forward?
I'm Jeff Thomas, 9601 Coldwater Road, Fort Wayne, and the developer here of Asherwood. So again, Justin did a good job kind of going through this. I know we don't have a layout here in front, but a few things. We do have two entrances to, again, kind of help the traffic flow and the way we've laid this out to try to get traffic throughout the subdivision and out to the ulterior streets. This will be public water and sewer. We are working with American Water on this. And as well as there's been a lot of storm concerns with this property, not just from being a developed standpoint, but what's there existing. And we're working through that through our engineers on being able to handle not only just water we have, but adjacent water from subdivisions and the streets around us to be able to handle that. And then we're working with the city on our exit point. So we are planning on being able to detain all of our water ourselves, as well as help some of the adjacent property. So we think that this project here be a big benefit storm drainage-wise to the area. Obviously, anytime you're extending water and sewer, that's a big advantage, not only for the development, but for the town as well. As we work our way through this, this is very similar, as Justin said, we're going through a PUD. We were before you before on a project called Greenbrier that we had just been doing. We're doing a very similar type project to that. And again, the other reason we're doing a PUD, as Justin said, we could go through try to piece this together zoning-wise, but it makes it a little bit more messy, I think, for the planning staff as well as for you guys. So this just makes it a cleaner way to be able to handle this. So we do have a mix of single-family as well as some duplex lots. We will be considering those to be like our villa section. They will be maintained by an association. But they will be attached. Again, the other reason for a PUD, because they're attached housing. We are asking on our rest of our single family that we have 5-foot setbacks, which gives us 10 total. And again, that would be at the closest point. As we've talked about through our other subdivision, Greenbrier, that's not always the case. We're always working on trying how to position these houses. We've worked with your engineer all the way through how we do driveways and trying to do the best at utilizing the property and the lots that we have for best flow. So again, this is something we're looking at coming through you guys for rezoning. I know this has to be a recommendation, I think, to your board, but this is the starting point. So we haven't got into all our engineering yet, obviously. This is just the beginning, so we've got a lot of work to go through with Aaron and your staff on a lot of the details, but the primary plat is here before you, and something I think that be a big benefit here to your area. And then you had some questions.
I did have a question. Part of a PUD requires that you provide recreational space for the neighborhood. And I see a lot of lake space, but that's not necessarily recreational space. That's green space, but it's not a place where kids can go out and play and safely throw a ball or, be out. So did I miss something in your plan? Because I don't see anything there.
We don't have much of that. What we have seen through trends and what we've been dealing with when it comes to common area, most neighborhoods, if we do parks, it actually becomes a detriment to the homeowners association for the maintenance and constantly working on what that ends up becoming after the developer has turned that over. We do have a lot of common area, like you said, a lot of that's detention. Our concern with this property has been a lot of the drainage. We will make sure we accommodate that. It's difficult to do if all of a sudden we've got a park area. So again, a lot of studies and things we're doing on land use, a lot of people anymore have trying to keep a lot of that stuff within their yard, swing sets and everything. A lot of structures anymore are built to accommodate single family. So as people have kids, they kind of within the yard. as opposed to being in the neighborhood. However, what we do try to do is connectivity, so we have sidewalks on both sides and throughout to get people, from a walking standpoint, working with the city and counties on trails or anything like that, to get them to parks that they might have, that are more of a public thing as opposed to being within the subdivision. So again, it's just kind of what's the best use, for that, for each individual piece. And again, from what we have from drainage and how we see lifestyle stuff, I think we've got that combination.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you, and I will probably bring that up on city council just because there are not public parks out in that area, and I think it is important that we do accommodate for that, and the ordinance does say that it has to be addressed. So I'm a little concerned about that, and we had the same discussion about Greenbrier. And you were able to take a lot and kind of turn it into an area that would be like a pocket park. And so I'm just going to register my concern that,
And we did do that at Greenbrier as well. So we can look at what we've got. Again, I still beat the same drum on data that we look at and stuff like that. And we have found it to be more efficient if counties and towns have the parks and we direct people to them as opposed to having them within the HOA.
Diane, are you,
there is no park to direct them to out there.
Diane, are you referring to 13.2.2.10 provisions for open space?
No, I'm
Compensating for reduced lot
referring to
sizes.
13.2.2.4
4?
that says that they must provide for recreation space. So that's a different requirement than open space. They
Yes, I
have
see it.
plenty of open space, but they don't have any recreation space in
So
here.
specifically 13.2.24. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah.
We'll look into that. Again, we work.
I know we're on a preliminary plat and all of that, but I just want to express my concern that be addressed. Because I think you want to attract families. I think you want to attract a mixed population here.
Correct.
And when you cut down the lot size and then you don't provide, and I know it doesn't seem like a huge amount that you're asking to cut it down, but you are cutting it down from a regular residential R1 lot where people would normally have their swing sets in their open space. And so that's just a concern I have. Thank you.
I would also address that too. It does say that a PUD, which is a special zone district, it does say in the language they must provide provisions. So that is something I'm sure you're going to have to address with the Common Council, with Diane, and as we move into the new year.
We can work through that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have other questions?
No, I think I would like you, though, for the benefit of people sitting here, to explain the difference between retention and detention as far as water goes and what your intentions are for this lot, because,
Well, a lot of this will all have to be detained. So we're going to have to detain the water at a certain, again, we're going to get into a lot of engineering, and we're working with Aaron on being able to come in and then release it at a certain rate. So we're not allowed to discharge water at a rate, actually, we'll discharge it at a rate that's actually less than what it's probably going through there. So we'll be able to detain the water for a while. Our ponds, how we currently have this laid out, are going to be connected through infrastructure, not through
okay.
swales, but through piping until it gets to its ultimate destination on discharge out. And we have met with staff on what we think would be the best option on that. We haven't got into the details of the engineering, obviously, but we will.
Right.
But we looked at what our possible route is to get the water out. And again, so we're looking at being able to keep the water on our site through a period of time where it's held for over 24 hours, 48-hour periods. Obviously, we have to meet 100-year type requirements and things like that. So we'll be able to accommodate on that. That's one of our reasons we have so many lakes and the sizes that they are, to make sure our retention is well done here. And then it'll be released at a rate that we'll work with staff.
And I know in the past you've done some work with some native plantings, which sometimes people think are weeds and not mowed correctly, but that have the longer root system that help with all of that. So again, just a plug for that, if that can be incorporated in this at all. I think that will both help, with the drainage and filtering the water, but also, if the slopes are pretty deep, you want to be careful to keep kids out of there too, and that helps.
So with a lot of our lakes anymore, what we do is we stone the edge. We try to get we have a safety ledge as well that's built in.
Right.
And we'll work with staff on stuff like that, but certainly the stone edge helps preserve that and the integrity of the bank as well as the water system. And certainly, usually we keep the kids from throwing rocks into the lake, which is a deterrent, people don't get into it as well.
Yeah, and I know you've addressed that in the past, but I just want to bring it up and give you an opportunity to speak to that.
Further clarification on that, Jeff. So you're calling them lakes, so I anticipate these are going to be set to retain water at all times, and then they're going to have the volume available
Yeah.
to take the storm and control it. Okay.
Are there other questions or comments? Okay, is Dave right? First name Dave? Or no?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm 71. I'm over there. Yeah. Jeff, something that always comes up that I'm always curious about, I can't tell if there's a left-hand turn lane at these entrances or not. Is there one, or is there plans to put one in?
So we haven't worked through that again, but we haven't got into all that will be in our engineering part of how we get in and out of
Mhm.
it. As we come out, our entrances will be a little bit wider to accommodate
Right.
cars if they're gonna make a right and a left. Obviously, coming in, we have to make sure that we can get trucks and stuff like that.
Right.
We have medians and stuff like that. But then we'll work with the highway department on the exterior roads. We will certainly have to have a 75, 100-foot taper somewhere in there to be able to have an XL, decel lane for traffic, to be able to get them moved over and into the subdivision or out of the subdivision.
I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean that the people can go around, people trying to turn left?
So it will depend on, what kind of right-of-way we have to work with, whether we have to pull our subdivision in a little bit to accommodate that, or if there's already a blister or something along either one of those roads that we can work with.
Is that on the agenda, Aaron?
It's really not. I haven't had a chance to look too
Well,
closely.
maybe
but I
not
would-
today, but somewhere down the road, you're going to...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're going to need to look at the current volumes and projected.
Correct.
Okay.
Meet with our engineers and your staff on what's the best way to move the traffic, so we don't have
But,
the.
yeah.
We don't want that either. We've got 169 homes, we want to make sure that they're safe and moving, as well as a lot of outlying people that'll be moving around the subdivision, how to get them through it. So we'll certainly work with staff on whatever's needed there.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Are there any other questions or comments?
Justin, you might need to correct me here, but I believe that the process will be that tonight we're just approving the general concept to send it on to city council. And if city council approves it, they can either choose to retain the right to approve the final plat or send it back to us. But in between those two steps is a technical meeting. And that's when all that stuff that we're asking about will be worked out, so that when we finally see the final plat, we'll know what the street's gonna look like, if there's a green space, if there's all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's generally the process. The tech review meeting would come after the council meeting, where they would have a lot of the details worked out. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, while she brought that up, then I'll ask you, all these people are obviously here about this. What is their ability to stay tuned into what's going on, so if they want to follow these issues and see what's being decided? How does that happen?
So tonight, what we're doing is making a recommendation to city council.
Thank you, Jeff.
So after that happens, either in favor or against this, then the developer would have the opportunity for another public hearing, just like we're having tonight at a city council meeting. And it would be published in the paper, so that's how people would find out about it. And then they could come to that meeting where the actual PUD ordinance would be written up, and the council could discuss it and make a motion on, like Diane described, either to hear it a second time, like ordinances typically go through council twice, or they would return it to this board for overseeing these developments, used to approving plats, they typically hand that back to you guys.
Okay, okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? By the way, if you've never heard the term PUD or PUD, it's just an acronym for Plan Unit Development. That's what it stands for. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on behalf of this request? Okay, if not, is there anybody who wishes in opposition or just has questions they'd like to ask? Yes, sir, come on up.
When you come up, will you just please state your name and your address?
My name is Martin Coomer, 2033 Marbury Drive, lot number 50 in Deeds Creek, Mass. This is a corner lot by the pond, and on the plat that I see, it looks like there is a retention ditch or retention pipe going through our backyard from a new subdivision proposal. And where does that go to? And how is that? Has that been approved by, like, the watershed, the county drainage committees and all that? If not, I think the original plat needs to be redone and proposed to this council before it's moved on to the next level. That's one concern I have. The other concern I have is traffic. And when you look at the exit on the 75 from the new addition, it tees onto 75. The Deeds Creek Manor tees into 75 also. There are times that it's hard to get out of that addition onto 75, but it would be, at this stage, I think, we have them redo the plat to move that exit from the new addition, possibly on down to where it intersects with this one out of Deeds Creek, and put a roundabout there and have the land usage done onto the property that they have houses. I think those need to be investigated and reproposed before you move this to the next level, because as a past professional engineer licensed by the state, I think those two major areas of concern need to be associated with that before this council approves, and in the future, the city of Warsaw and county residents have to pay for additional improvements to control traffic or drainage.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, do you want to address those issues? The pipe and then the traffic?
Again, we don't have our engineering completed yet for drainage. So our piping and everything will be having to work out with you guys on exactly where that is. We have our preliminary of what we talked about with staff already. But as we work through that, again, I want everybody here to know if drainage is an issue. We're working on accommodating drainage to where it's all contained within our subdivision and then released at a rate that's less than what it currently is. And then we'll work with staff on the exit point and all that kind of stuff on the engineering. So drainage, again, if that continues to come up, we're working through all that. I think we've got a plan to be able to handle all our drainage as well as some of the other drainage that's coming our way. Again, traffic is, the road system's already in place, what's around us. So that we're doing, I know we're putting some more cars here, but we'll work with our entrances on being able to move traffic around us and being able to get people in and out, and how that works. If the city has other plans on what they're doing with their road system, I haven't been given privy to any of that. So if they're talking about a roundabout or things like that, I don't know anything about that. We try to line our entrance up, because if you offset an entrance with another entrance, it becomes more difficult for traffic actually to move in and out. You get cars that then will try to make lefts, and it becomes a real problem. So that's the reason we kind of have our entrances lined up with one another. Then usually that's the best right-of-way spot, also from a visual standpoint. So that's why we have our entrances where they are. That seems to be the best spot visually for traffic to get in and out.
Okay.
Again, certainly as we work through this, I think our entrances are in a really good spot, but we'll work with the staff on it. If there's other concerns though with the roads and traffic patterns and difficulties with people already getting out, I wasn't aware of that. That's something maybe the staff already knows about and that they're already planning on, and we weren't aware of that.
Okay. Justin or Aaron, did either one of you have a comment you want to make at this point?
I'll speak a little more onto the drainage. There is an existing county legal drain tile that runs through the properties as you speak of, and that's what currently drains significant acreage presently, and we're intending to utilize that, and if it needs repairs or reconstructed or something like that, we have to work with the county surveyor's office to better understand that tile. I'm sorry?
Can I reapproach?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're referring to the H.C. Kelly ditch,
Legal tile, it's not a ditch, it's a buried pipe.
buried pipe, correct. And that is not what we're planning on using for the plat. The plat shows a new ditch, new pipe running through our backyard, with the H.C. Kelly being underneath part of the housing development lots and a lake.
I don't know what information you're even showing and referring to. I don't have that on the plat. Sure.
Here's Kelly. Here's my property. Here's the line.
I got
And
it on,
here
but I
is
can't get it to come up.
lining up lot 50, which is right here, which is our property. Here is the new drainage for the plot, or the plat map.
Science is
that they
great till it's not,
provided.
huh?
Yeah, that's an existing drainage tile.
It's right here. For the county,
Well, it might not be mapped correctly. We have to go out and find it.
Aaron, if he wants to have a conversation with you,
Yeah, we'd
just
be
to go
glad,
into
I'd be glad to
detail.
hear any of that out, but that's the, I was
they
speaking
just
of the
prepared
intent.
that right here not too long ago, the county went through.
That's
because-
good.
Yeah.
Well,
And
so
they
then
didn't
the-
do anything in our yard, and it's not there.
Maybe Jeff can speak. Jeff, the intent was to use that tile, not to build a new tile parallel to it, correct? I mean, we're not there yet, I guess.
We're not there yet. I mean, we, again, as we've talked about, so you're north of us, across the street is you're lot 50, correct? Is that what you? Yeah, you're on the other side of the street. So that pipe that runs there is in a legal drain, and there's easements and everything in place. And that's there for the benefit of taking water that's all in that drain. So if anything, any work that we would do, or the county, or the surveyor's work would do, would be to improve the drainage system.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and my understanding is that there's already easements and everything in place for that tile.
It's over here. The risers are over here, over here. They're not in our lot. Your plat, as drawn and proposed, shows it running right through our back of our lot, inside our property.
Well,
The actual drainage tile is not there. So your plat needs to be re-corrected and also needs to be, I think, upgraded before they approve it.
well, we would have to definitely work on that pipe, but the pipe we were using is an existing pipe, so it's already in place.
So if I
I
could
guess I'm
help move this
confused on
along
that.
just a bit. So the Plan Commission's purpose is to generally review a preliminary plat for whether or not it's a good idea for the community to be there. It's been repeated over and over that the final engineering is not done. Stuff like the final roadways are not done. Where all the pipes are finally going to go at the end are not done. It's not been subject to any technical review so far. That's the purpose of this being here in front of the planning committee, is for this planning committee to say whether or not they think this concept, this idea as it's preliminarily drawn, whether this is worthy to move forward to a more technical review and for more technical guidance when it goes before the entire city council. And before the entire city council would review this, there's going to be significantly more work done by our city engineer, Aaron Ott, before there would be any more work done by Jeff Thomas and his group's people. If it's shot down here tonight, then nobody's spending more money, and they're not moving forward, or they come back with a different plan. Tonight is a preliminary, and it gives people the opportunity to step up and say, here's some concerns. Like preliminarily, I'm concerned about the water coming towards Lot 50. We know, Aaron knows, our city engineer, that there is a county drain to the west of Deeds Creek. And so preliminarily, it looks like there's some plan for a proposed storm sewer to go somewhere in that county drain that's west over by Lot 50, where it's going to be found. It's not a final plat in any way. They haven't done the engineering. They haven't done the road studies. So to fight over the technical details tonight, I think, are premature. I think the general concept stuff is stuff that you should all tell the Plan Commission if you have issues with it so they can consider it. The work hasn't been done yet that is going to need to be done for the final technical stuff. So I just want to remind you guys that tonight before we get too far into the weeds on the final technical stuff. Some of the stuff, like Diane said, she wants to see more recreation areas in here. That's something I think is really good for a suggestion here. Or maybe you guys have those suggestions, but tonight's not the place to make the argument that this pipe should not go to this specific lot. That's going to be a more technical thing down the road. So I just wanted to remind people of that, to make best use of your time here when you're talking about what you want to see have happen over there and what you want this Plan Commission to consider.
You know, sir, my thought would be, with your expertise, you'd make a good point person for this group as far as that, and perhaps you could stay connected with Mr. Ott and have a one-on-one discussion at the appropriate time so that you're prepared.
I can be there with several others, but as far as a point person, no, I don't want to be there as a point person, but I will be there with others that represent their concerns and interests. And I don't think, in my personal opinion, I'm not objecting to the development of it. What I'm objecting to, and I believe that the board should do, is reject the plan as it's proposed. There are so many concerns: open space, recreational areas for children, the size of the entrances and exits for traffic and how they're handled are very abrupt on traffic. And as we go with 30 changing in the future, the 75 and 225 could increase in traffic, and it's going to become worse. And I think the Planning Commission here needs to look at some of those things and say, the developer needs to go back and kind of consider these things and repropose their drawing, which would take some time, and yes, but it is needed in several areas. They're not, to me, I've been through so many different types of engineering projects in my company and other companies that when their first proposals come through, somehow things slip through and that's what they end up being. That is part of my concern. And I'm thinking that I'm not objecting to development and improvements. What I'm objecting to is the way it is. It has a lot of concerns and risk in my manner, and also future impacts to our tax structure when those changes have to take place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm Matt Foreman, and I live in Deeds Creek, which is directly north there. And my address is 2086 Barberry Drive. And what I would note is my concern is the value of my house with these there. If you look to the Deeds Creek just to the north there, you can see the size of the lots. And when you look down and compare that to the new lots, it looks like you'd fit about 2 of them per lot. We're talking about a 5-foot yard on each house. We're talking about houses on slabs that are just packed in there. When you go to Deeds Creek, every single house has a basement and a decent yard. So, and it used to be a parade home addition. So I'm just concerned about that value. And I think the houses are packed in too tight on Asher, and I'd like to see them spread out more.
Okay. Justin, do you want to address that?
I mean, people are welcome to voice those concerns. PUD is a tool that allows flexibility for developers to change some of those dimensions. The lots that you're seeing along the north side are pretty much as close as they could be to R1 zoning. So they do look smaller compared to the larger lots that you're seeing on the north side. So that's just kind of where development is at. It ebbs and flows. To give you an idea, the Lincoln neighborhood to the west of Lincoln Elementary School is a good example of how dense development used to be. So there are times when developers do larger lots, there are times when developers do small lots, and everything in between. The value of the house can also fluctuate. So there may be houses that exceed the value of the houses to the north, but there may be houses that are comparable or lower than the value. So it is good to have a mix of those residential values. I'm sure a lot of people will share those concerns as well, but maybe the developer could speak to the cost of the housing units that they're going to put in. But from a planning standpoint, there's a value in having a variety of housing types and housing options in a community.
Okay.
And Justin, haven't we run into this situation before when we have city meeting county regulations?
Yeah, generally, if you're in the county, you might have a septic tank. You won't have sewer. So having a septic field makes you have a requirement to have a larger lot because you have to separate your well from your septic field. So with city, if you have water and sewer, there's a less need to be able to replace your septic field. So it's just logistics and then running all those services. Also road miles. So there was a mention of affecting taxes and tax structure earlier. I think the longer stretch of road you have, the city has to maintain those roads. So if you have more houses along that stretch of road, or if you have 6 houses versus 10, there's just a value added to the city maintaining those road miles. So.
And just so that you know, when we do receive this at city council, each department in the city does an analysis and gives us how much more it would cost in police protection, in fire protection, in road maintenance and wastewater, so that when the city council actually looks at that, we'll see all of those numbers as we're trying to make a decision as well.
I guess I'd reiterate, you don't have to wait till the next meeting. You can call Mr. Rod ahead of time, and he can let you know when some decisions have been made, and you can know that ahead of time and get the thought process going. Jeff, on this point, though, would you mind addressing the possibility of barriers as far as the neighboring homes, and also your pricing on those homes, because he's concerned about price diminishment, whether these are going to be a real step down as far as price or not?
Actually, I don't know the value of Deeds Creek. I don't know what the home values are in there. I'm not real sure when that was developed.
Okay, he's selling about $500,000-600,000 apparently.
Yeah, and that very well might be. We're trying to meet what the current market is there here in Warsaw and provide housing for a big need that's here. So we're probably going to be anywhere from our duplexes, we might be in that 275, 280, and our single family all the way from, again, that price range up to probably 400.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. That's our price point that we're looking at.
And as far as barriers are concerned, any thoughts, or too early?
No, again, we'll have things landscaped and everything along the road that we can do. But again, we don't even know what we're doing along the roads yet. Again, we'll get into the technical part of that, what we're able to do and stuff like that. But I mean, are you talking about barriers like fencing or mounding?
Oh,
or
I was thinking of
just-
like mounding and bushes or something. You see that a
Yeah,
lot.
we'll certainly have our entrance, both of them landscaped against Deeds and on the other side as well. But
But I mean, is there any thought about boundaries with surrounding neighborhoods, or not so much?
no,
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you.
no, yeah. And I'm not a real estate, I do real estate, not a realtor. So again, that's why value-wise, I'm not that familiar with the Deeds Creek
Okay.
stuff.
Don't go away, I mean,
Yeah.
again.
No, I'll be right here.
Okay, I think you had your hand up next, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your time this evening. I'm Mark Scrafton. I'm 1985 East, 75 North, and I am that whole west section over there on the west side of that development. You know, I used to hang around with the guy that owned that underneath the maple trees, and you know, I know you don't want us to reminisce about that, but he used to talk about that farm, used to talk about owning that house that's on the corner. And we had a lot of good conversations. He loved that farm. I've got some real concerns about this. I don't think it's conducive to development. And I think Jeff's made some good points as to why it's not conducive to development. We've got some strong challenges in this community, right? I mean, we had Menards, which was Meyer, right? But that got turned down. We had some people in the community that opposed that. That had a nice long entrance into Meyer and then roundabout, whatever. That got turned down. We got Menards now. Got our challenges there with putting in a roundabout, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have issues getting off of 30. I see people that come up on that right-hand side. They go straight in Menards, zip through the parking lot, just so they can get around traffic because traffic's backed up all the way to 30. We have a development. Anybody, are you guys aware of the development we got behind Menards? Why aren't we partnering with these people? They're our partners in this community now. Why don't we join hands and say, hey, we need houses. How can we get this sold? How can we take an existing piece of property? Have you looked at the property lately? It's all overgrown with weeds, hasn't been maintained. It's just sadly sitting there saying, hey, somebody come use me. Community, you need me? Right there it sits. Let's develop it. Let's go down to Bob Evans. We put in hotels, we put in apartments. Great for the community. I'm not opposed to that. We did nothing to the infrastructure. We got challenges there. Let's go down to Popeyes. Great for the community. People like Popeyes. People like Rule King. You got Kosciuszko Road that comes in there. Comes with its challenges, right? It's a challenging intersection. Let's go up Old 30. Mouth's getting dry. We've got a development, I think, going in there across from the county complex, don't we? That's going to be coming one of these days. I think I can incorporate it into the city. So there's one development on that side of town. Now let's go on up the road there. Now we've got Bella Augusta. Bella Augusta's going to be going in there with 89 lots. Same kind of thing, right across the street on 225, villas. So I've got double the population. I've got double the amount of cars. I've got 169 lots coming in here. Maybe it's great for the community. I don't know. Maybe it's not. But you're going to add 500 plus cars coming off of those two roads, I think. How many children? I don't know. 100 plus children? School system's taxed out in there, guys. It's over capacity. I'm concerned about that. You got children that have no place to go. Okay? Jeff admitted we got drainage issues, right? Count them. We got 14 inlets around the circumference. I don't know if you're the drainage expert, but how many developments do we have 14 inlets to drains going in? Are there very many around this community that's got that, saying we have issues around the perimeter of this thing? That you have to have 14 inlets going into this? We have elevation issues. We have 10-foot drops on this property. And they're not coming toward the property, they're coming away from the property. These people on 225 are going to be living in a river. Bruce is going to be living in a river. I'm concerned about a river over in my yard. Okay? I hear people laughing. Let's talk about rain. Everybody get your Google out. For every 1 inch of rain on a 1,000 square foot input, you get 623 gallons. Okay? Let's look at 1,600 square foot of roof line. That's 1,000 gallons coming off of this. Nowhere to go. All runoff, 10 foot coming down into these 14 different inlets. I mean, let's look at 63 acres. It's 1.7 million gallons, people. It's absorbed into the ground right now. 169 lots. That's 169,000 gallons of runoff. Where's it going to go? 169,000 gallons. Okay, Deeds Creek. I'm getting really dry. How many people remember Deeds Creek when it was a parade of homes? You remember what happened there? Any of you remember what happened there? 7 inches of rain fell that day. 7 inches. Well, guess what about these inlets? They get plugged. It overflowed. We had basements flooded, brand new parade of homes, basements flooded. I mean, do the calculations. 7 inches of rain times 169, I got 1.1 million gallons of water coming off these 169 homes. Where is it gonna go? Is that worst case example? 1.1 million gallons. If I take that times 63 acres, that's 12 million gallons of water that naturally gets away. Where's it gonna go now? In ponds? I'm deeply concerned for what I see here today. You got 7 houses per acre. 7 houses per acre. It's not right. 14 perimeter drains because they got known issues with drainage on this property. Where is the water gonna go? I'm requesting they have to have berms on this thing to prevent that from happening. We gotta have bigger lots. We need to have mosquito protection. If you're gonna have lakes out here, I'm gonna have mosquitoes. You're gonna have all kinds of health issues with things. It's just, there's a lot of things and a lot of issues with this that need to be addressed before it gets approved. Water's the most damning thing that can happen here, and I ask you to really think about that.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments to this gentleman? Okay, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
My name is William Smith, and I live at 1355 North Shagbark Drive. That is Hickory Estates. My concern is what the other gentleman is. There's going to be a lot of traffic out there. If you've ever been out there when there's not a lot of traffic, it's a hectic then. But to add close to 500 more cars, it's going to be a madhouse out there. And I have a rhetorical question for the developer. He wants to build and direct people to the parks. What park? There's no park out there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Justin or Aaron, do either one of you want to give a brief comment about the traffic situation or the traffic studies or whatever, or
Yeah,
parameters?
Yeah, we understand the concerns about traffic. I did look at the MACOG data. We don't have, I spoke with them at length about the traffic in this area. Average daily trips on Old 30 that goes through there is about 5,000-6,000 in that range. Average daily trips north-south. They didn't have a count recently, but they had one on 75, and then the southern extension of 225 east, and they said that was about those roads. Everything that the traffic engineer was seeing indicated that it was about 25 to 2,700 average daily trips on that road. Now, these 75 and 225 east are minor collector streets. Minor collector streets are intended to have about 10,000 average daily trips. So there is work that could be done. Believe it or not, increasing the number of cars on a road bumps up the priority in repairing it and accommodating that traffic. If you don't have the traffic volume, you're not going to build a larger road to accommodate the traffic. So it is a bit like chicken egg conversation. We can go around in circles about traffic. I know a lot of people have that concern. It is something that we're looking at seriously as we create any development in the city. We want to improve traffic flow and how it works. We also know that US 30 has changes coming. So all of that's in the background as we look at these things. But the potential increase in traffic, if we shut down development because of that, we would have no development in the city. So that's just something that we look at. It is something that's an ongoing issue, but it's something that we, as we add more development, we're able to improve these things. So.
Before you leave, and this gentleman talked about the water collection. Now, it's been raised, but can you kind of touch again about what you would anticipate the result would be after you've done the engineering on the water collection and 100-year floods?
Yeah, and that's really Aaron's wheelhouse. Every development has to meet our standards for development, 100-year floods. So they are required to capture a certain percentage of that, and it sounds like this development might be going beyond what our ordinance even requires them to do. So we wouldn't allow them to develop in a way that was going to be detrimental as far as putting water on adjacent properties. We're very cautious to review those drawings and make sure they're doing things the right way.
And again, everybody here has a chance to inquire about those drawings and give their inputs if they want to.
Yeah, they can definitely stop by and ask questions and look at the drawings as they're developed anytime they would like to, between 8 and 4, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Before I get back to you, let me just see if there's somebody else that wants to talk so I get everybody a shot here. Has anybody else got their hand raised? I missed, yes, sir?
I just had a quick question about that, Rick. It's just, how do we know what's going on? I mean, you made the comment earlier. How do we know the timing, and how do we know to come in that he's got them ready for us to review?
Okay, Justin, I'll let you speak to that.
Like today, we sent out a mailing to adjacent properties. So I would encourage you to look at the paper. The mailing is more of a courtesy. The legal requirement is only to be published in the paper.
Nobody gets a paper.
So.
You just heard Dave. You crushed him. Yeah, but they can also call you or call the city attorney too, right? Not city attorney, but the city engineer, and just say, what's the status?
Yeah, they're more than welcome to call the office anytime.
We know when to do that. I mean, how do you know when?
I'll just put it on your-
We don't.
Here's a good tip. The council meeting agendas are all published online, so you'll see those in advance. So they're on the website. If you guys want a link to that, we can help you navigate to that site. But all those agendas are published prior to the meeting, so you'll be able to see if the Asherwood subdivision is going, and it would be Asherwood subdivision PUD ordinance, and it would be going before council, and it would be on that agenda. So hopefully that would help. You keep an eye on it. You could check that every couple weeks, before a council meeting, we check to see if it's on the agenda. So that would be my advice.
So, sir, you had a comment?
I'm Brent Messmore, 2179 East, 75
Just
North.
for the record, I remember when you played high school basketball. It's been that long.
Yes, sir.
You were good too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had a good follower too. That's watched. I'm up in the upper right-hand corner. The big, right there, the big lot right there in the corner. You guys have hit on a lot of stuff that we had issues with. The size of the lots, yes. I'm not going to pound drive this in, but one question I have for you, Aaron, how big's that tile? We found out how many gallons of water were coming off. How big's that tile? How can that tile handle this kind of volume? So then we're getting into the issue. Now do we have to go through his backyard and dig this tile up and put a bigger tile to handle the volume of water? Yes, that is a lot of our main concern. My concern, the embankments that you've brought up, the size of the lots that you've brought up, a lot of you guys have hit this. We have on the other side of 225 East, Bella Augusta is coming north. The access lane, the left-hand turn lane, they've already got plans there. So, again, like Justin said, we can't widen roads to an extent. Unfortunately, you may have to take some out of your addition to make a decel lane. I'm not opposed. Dad sat there and said, it's going to get developed. I understand that. But the amount of houses has me concerned. The volume of water has me concerned. We've got 4-H animals and animals we raise for people to put beef in their freezer. I don't want a bunch of herbicides off of yards and stuff coming onto because I do have a corner lot right there that is pasture for these animals. I mean, you guys have hit, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You guys have hit a lot of my concerns and our concerns. Just take this stuff into consideration. I am concerned about the size of the tile now. I'm a licensed contractor of plumbing. That tile's only gonna handle so much water. Okay, he's gonna slow it down. Great. How slow we gonna have to feed that stuff out of there to handle that tile over to the creek? I'm just thinking out loud. So, I know you don't have an idea right now how big that tile is, but it's just something when he was talking about all this, that tile's only gonna handle so much water. So, and, the county has been doing great things going through and cleaning a lot of the creeks up, a lot of the tiles up and things like that. I'm not opposed to progression, like Justin says. If we stop thinking about this community can't grow. This community has been doing great things and growing great and taking care of a lot of families. But, we have some serious concerns here. And, we just, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but, you've hit everything. We want the barriers. We want the planting of the trees. I don't want to look at nasty. Unfortunately, you can only control so much retention pond. Once you're gone, the home association is in charge of it. Well, nobody mows these retention ponds. I don't want to walk out the back door of the house and look at a nasty retention pond. So not anymore than you want to walk out of your back door and look at weeds growing in the neighbor's house. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to come out right there's retention pond, lake, whatever we call it. Am I going to have that whole corner right there, my property, as a retention pond or retention lake? What am I going to be looking at? What's my grandkids going to be looking at? Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron, real quickly, would you explain, at least for me, the difference between retention and detention, and how much of this is retention and how much is
Yeah,
detention?
I'll share, and I'll share a couple other points of how our review's gonna go that might help everybody understand. So, when it's retention and detention, retention means it's gonna hold water. It's designed to hold water and be a lake, I guess, as they're calling it in here. And then it has to have excess volume capacity to take the stormwater runoff and then release it. A detention is meant to dry out within 24 to 48 hours and only hold water for a short period of time after a storm event takes place.
Okay, and at this point, do we know percentages of retention versus detention, or is that to be determined?
Well, yeah, maybe it's to be determined, but I'm gathering these are retention ponds here, and they're going to have a set volume that they take in with storm events. And all the pipes and systems bring it all to these ponds, and then there'll be an outlet control that controls how fast the water will release out of these things. And the intent is it going to continue to drain the same place it has been draining, and that's through the legal tile system that runs up to Deeds Creek. And we're expecting to release it slower than it might currently go in. And, we're not going to get any more rain. The rain is going to hit roofs and pavement, and so that creates the reason it has to be controlled. But there's no more gallons of rain than there ever has been. And if it's a 7-inch rain, good luck to a lot of the city when we have a 7-inch rain. So that's not maybe the parameter to compare, but we do design it to control the 100-year storm event, and then to be prepared that wherever the overflow is after a 100-year storm event is not detrimental to homes within that path. There has to be a valid overflow path there for when the 100-year storm is exceeded.
Thank you. Yes, sir? Okay, everybody's going here. No fighting, no
I
fighting.
lost my.
Hey, before you start, I just had one thing of clarification.
Sure.
I thought I heard you say there's 7 homes per acre.
You calculated over here, they had like 6,000 square feet. It's in a 35 by whatever over there.
I thought I
like
saw
6,000 square foot lots over here on the east.
I thought I saw there's 6 62.46 acre development for 169 houses.
That's correct, but if you look at how it's
So that-
compressed over here on the one side,
So for the development, we agree it's 2.7.
yeah, I'll agree with that. It's bigger.
I just wanted to,
But to your point, in that 7 inches of rain, you know how much water I had in my house? 0. You know what my anticipation is out of this development if we get 7 inches of rain? And you just said, well, good luck. You know what my anticipation is and what I want out of this development? 0.
It shouldn't get any worse. It's going to
Right.
release slower.
0. That
Everybody
that
should
should
want
be
0.
everybody's standard for my house over there, right? Not, let's go down the road to the west to 1648 that's across from Deerfield. I encourage everybody to go by that elderly people's home over there. 1/3 of their front yard. Wasn't that way in the first 25 years when I was driving past there. You put in Deerfield Edition. Go look at their yards tomorrow. Go drive by. 1/3 of that yard is dead or got weeds on it.
I
Because
believe
it's
that's a county
flooded.
subdivision and they don't design to the same standards we do. But
It's just a house across the street. 1648.
I don't know when they built that subdivision, what requirements they
I
had
don't
to
know
meet.
what it is, but is that fair?
Well, wait, yeah, but you're saying Deerfield was not built to city standards?
I believe it was a county subdivision.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
Whatever. I'm just saying, whether it's county or city, that's not fair to anybody. And I'm not saying.
Well, we're gonna do
it's
it
not
right,
fair
though.
to
We
me
have an
either. I
ordinance.
don't want any water on my property as a result of this. And the point I was gonna make was that you got 14 inlets. When Jeff walks away from this, and that's great, maybe we'll get this developed, maybe it will, hopefully we will, I don't know. But it's gotta be maintained.
I do
Has to
agree.
be. Who maintains that? If it's the HOA, I don't think that's gonna happen. They're not gonna be cleaning out so we don't get debris that backs that up, so we don't end up with a Deeds Creek where it overflows on those inlets.
Actually, I know a little bit about that, because one of my pet peeves is we always let them grow their grass over 1 foot, and I'm always calling the code enforcement. At that point, you call the city code enforcement officer, and you say they're not maintaining the yard, then he comes out,
Yeah.
and the guy's very good that we have, and they will address that issue.
But I think everybody on this committee can agree, it's great to have excitement and want to do this thing initially, but then people walk away from it, and we got to make sure for the health of the community that the systems that are in place for proper drainage and what have, they got to be maintained.
I will fully,
They have to be.
I fully agree with you, and it's a conversation we have regularly.
Yeah.
I know that there are some retention ponds, or maybe there were detention basins out in that neighborhood that are a bad example of what they need to look
We
like.
got bad examples everywhere, right?
So, but it is important that there's better maintenance of those ponds, and we're looking at
But in this
tools
case, it's
to do
critical,
that.
right? It's critical.
Yeah,
As
it
he said,
doesn't
we got
work if they
drainage
don't-
issues. We gotta have 14 of those things functioning on all cylinders when we get those rains.
Sure.
Or I'm in trouble, 225's in trouble, he's in trouble.
The system has to be built right and maintained, yes.
There's your word.
Yeah,
You
but
can
to
build
that
anything
extent,
right, but can you you can build a car right, you forget to put oil in it the first time, it doesn't work so good.
my point to you is though, is that I'm confident you'll be keeping an eagle's eye on these people, and you call the city code enforcement officer and say there's a problem, that needs to be looked at, and they'll do it.
I hope so.
Yes, ma'am. I think she's next. She's been waiting here
I'm
patiently.
Renee Swan, the same property that I was just talking about. So, one thing I don't think that's been talked about, we did talk about traffic, and I know you said the fire department and emergency services would take this on when it gets to the next stage. And I'm really interested in that piece, because not only is the traffic horrible, but you start thinking of ambulances, fire trucks getting where they need to go, but the poor people at Hickory Estates that are past that three-way stop, they're gonna be part of the ones that are in trouble trying to get services to them. And so I'm anxious to hear about that. And then when you were talking about it goes from one stage, this approval stage, to, the city council then from there, is there another opportunity besides just going up and looking at the plans? Is there another opportunity to see what's been changed and what's been accommodated from this feedback?
Yes, so at that city council meeting, then you'll see the updated plans and you'll be able to hear all the little details about how, city services and things like that. And it will be a public hearing, so you can come and address the city council just as you're
So it's not
doing
just looking
tonight.
at plans?
Yes, yes. And then there'll be a third time here when it actually gets to the final replat.
And that time will also show how deep those ponds are gonna be, right?
Yes, so like right now, basically what we're voting on is this a good idea? Is this, is it okay to have a subdivision here? And what, and then you're telling the developer, these are our concerns so that they can address some of those and either be prepared when they come to the city council that, yes, we've addressed this concern, and this is how we've done it, or we've not addressed this concern, and this is why we've not.
Okay.
Is that
So if we
fair?
want embankments around the corner farm, this would be the time to say that, embankments with the trees.
That would be the time to say that, so that they have an idea of what you're looking for, rather than them putting all the work into the engineering and then coming up with, well, now we want this, or now we want that, If this is the time that you have some ideas of what you want, it's a great time to get it before the developer.
Yeah, I just think it can't be emphasized enough, the traffic, and unless you live out there or drive over there for any purpose or reason, it's already backed up, and people just can't imagine how this is gonna get better, they just can't figure that out, so, all right.
Thank you. Yeah,
Real
Jeff, go
quick,
ahead.
when we talk about doing embankments around properties and stuff like that, the issue being, the first thing we always have to do is, we're talking about tonight, and we don't have the answers and all this, on storm drainage, is I want to be able to accommodate that. So they're going to have some runoff as well, probably coming our way or doing whatever. If we build an embankment, the water does not come our way, it stops, it's on their property. Then I get the call of, water's not moving, right? So when we do this, we got to look at this project in totality and what we do. And when we deal with Aaron, well, we have flexibility in our ponds. They move up and down so that we do that, so that we can store it, so it releases at a certain rate. All that is a calculable thing that our engineers will work out. We treat all our ponds. I know there was concern about mosquitoes and stuff like that. We treat them on a regular basis. We are big on maintenance. Because we're putting in so many homes, and this is what we do, it's very important that everything work properly for us as well. So we're very concerned about a lot of these same issues. A lot of these people that live here are going to be concerned about traffic as they come in. All this lots won't be going in all at the same time. We're going to be doing this in stages. We haven't even broken that out of what. If this one section, if this is going to be 3 sections or 4 sections, we'll have to work through that, what that looks like. So there's a lot of those things that are coming on, but a lot of these same concerns we have as well. Drainage was a big one. I started with that. We wanted to make sure that that's one of the first things we're accommodating. We will work with them and everybody on all of that kind of stuff. The traffic's a little different. I don't get, I haven't been part of all the traffic studies and all the long-term planning of what's to be done here, but we'll work with staff on being able to accommodate a lot of these things. So again, going back to what we started with, a lot of these concerns are ours as well. We're going to make sure our subdivision accommodates these things because we're looking to put a sizable investment here. We want to make sure everybody's in the subdivision is happy as well as our surrounding community.
The question got raised about, I'll take mosquito control as an example. How long do you maintain responsibility for, say, mosquito control on the development, and then when does it get turned over to an HOA who then takes up
I
responsibility?
usually stay involved all the way till the last lot sold.
Okay, and
Okay.
then after the last lot's sold?
And then sometime in the meantime, we work with a board and association to kind of teach them and learn them and work with subcontractors on all that kind of stuff. So, and again, from a maintenance standpoint, all of this will be turned over, all this will be a legal drain system that will be put in place. So at any point, we always have it be that the association's responsible, but the county, if we have plug problems or we have issues with our storm drainage system, the county has the right to come in at any time and do whatever needs to be done. Again, if somebody comes in and decides to put a landscape mound in a swale and they're blocking up water, those are all things that are dealt with in our covenants and restrictions, as well as that's a legal drain system that the county and city and whoever the entities are at the time, want to make sure that the flow's right. So we kind of have two mechanisms in place. We have an HOA in place and for drainage, and we have a legal drain system. It's very similar to the streets. Those will all be publicly dedicated. So we put them all in, but those will all be turned over to the city to maintain and take care of. So if we have problems streetwise, whether it be inlets are plugged, snow removal problems, curbs are breaking up, those will be city streets that will be taken care of through your own system. Again, those are, as we come on with these houses, that's why they pay taxes and all of that stuff, just like everybody here. So we're very concerned about a lot of these items too. That's why we have engineers, and you guys have fail-safe systems that we have to go through your engineers, and we kind of match up to make sure we're doing what's best for everybody involved. So again, going back to your point, the very beginning of this, the technical stuff will be worked out. I'm totally confident in everybody we have always dealt with here in Warsaw, as well as our team in place. It's the same as what you guys have seen us come before. We'll be able to work all these issues out. I'm really not that concerned about a lot of that. I think once this gets going and developed, I think you'll see that we'll do the best that we can, not only for everybody here in this room, but for the people we'll be selling to as well.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Point of order, council tells me I need to make sure everybody who hasn't had the chance to speak at least once has at least had the chance. So is anybody out there who wants to speak who hasn't had a chance to get up yet? Okay, so, okay, there we go. You've been preempted.
My name is Rob Martin, and address 1155 North Antler Drive, so I'm in Hickory Estates as well. I appreciate Jeff's comments about development, right? And I think we're here to debate tonight whether a development of 169 lots and subdivision is a good idea, right? And if that's what we're debating, or that's what the Plan Commission is being asked to make a recommendation on, I would ask that we reconsider that, whether that's a good idea. My opinion would be no, for many of the reasons that are out here. Not that a development or a subdivision is a bad idea here, it's the number of lot, the lot density. The lot density for the houses that will be constructed in relation to their value, to relation to the values of the properties around. Traffic is an issue. It's been a long issue right there. And I certainly understand the point of we have to develop to be able to increase our roads. But again, it comes back to that root question, 169 lots on this 62 acres. And my opinion would be, and my ask would be that density is maybe a little bit too high for this 62 acres. So just consider that. A lot of the other issues with drainage, those things I do have confidence that the city will maintain. Those regulations are in place for a reason. And the developer will meet those recommendations and those restrictions. My point is the number of lots and the lot density, the closeness together of the homes, it's just not a great fit for this parcel. It should and can be developed, it's just that number of lots. Thank you.
This adds on to that, and this is, I want to direct this partially towards Jeff.
Can you just say your name again?
Oh, this is Matt Foreman. I'm from Deeds Creek, 2086 Barberry Drive. These little budget houses seem to be popping up all over Warsaw. I'm questioned sometimes where they find people to fill all these houses. But my wife and I have often been keeping track of the upper level houses because we've considered moving into a nicer retirement home somewhere. And it's really hard to find higher quality houses with bigger lots. I wonder if you couldn't maybe actually make more money with bigger lots and fancier houses. And a lot of these concerns would dissipate, I think, because it would change the density of the addition.
Jeff, do you want to try to address price point and what the demand
Yeah, I
is?
mean, we could go through that. We go through interest rates, economy, average salary here in Warsaw. The fact that you guys, I mean, I think right now there's over 25,000 commuters into Warsaw. I think we've gone over this before, that come into Warsaw on a regular basis to work or whatever. You know, if we could capture 10% of them, what a boom for Warsaw that would be, right? 2,500 people. A lot of them live outside of Warsaw for all kinds of reasons, but the general premise is there aren't enough housing here to meet the need of what you have. From what we look at and what we do in our marketing and what we see from what's needed here, this is the product that's needed here in Warsaw. This is why we brought that. We've done all kinds of different products all over the state, actually. But in things that we've seen and capturing what the need for Warsaw is, this is the price point that needs to be met. I can appreciate that, I'm sure a lot of people in America would like to live in a $500,000 house plus. That's just not realistic for when you look at what price what salary and what's going on currently, whether it be here or in Indiana in general, and a lot of the other places that we develop. There's a lot of people that want to live here, and from what we're seeing, this is
the market
that we can meet. Correct. I think if you did an analysis and again, this isn't something I do, but if you did an analysis of how many $500,000 homes are built and sold in a year in Warsaw, I'm sure it would take me quite a long time to fill that subdivision. So again, this is the product we're very comfortable with. When we talk about the density, I know he mentioned that he still thinks there should be a development here, but doesn't like the number of lots. I think if we can accommodate this engineering-wise, traffic and drainage seem to be the two issues. I don't know why the 169 lots would be an issue if we can accommodate everybody from the engineering standpoint of things, which I am very confident that we will be able to do with our team and yours. So again, if we took out 10 lots, how's that really going to impact anything or change anything to benefit anybody drainage or streetwise? Even if we took out those lots and we made the lots bigger, we still have the same amount of street and we still have the same drainage. As Aaron said, water's water when it rains. So
I think
again,
your point would also be that it's going to change the price point. It goes from 300,000 to something else.
Sure.
Because now I got a bigger house, bigger lot.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a lot more for people to maintain and do, and obviously the wider the lot or the bigger the lot, the cost is completely different.
And related to your comments, and then several, we really appreciate this. This is part of the preliminary plat proposal. I would say it's not, is this a good development? Is this something that we should leave alone, or is this something that we should consider for development? Okay, that's really where we are. And the unique thing about a planned unit development, because of the zoning and the use of it, is everybody, not just the developer, but everybody in this room will have another month, okay? You'll come before elected officials. You have 2 elected officials here tonight, okay? The next time we meet, all of these questions are going to have to be worked through and addressed and then proposed in public to every elected official in the city of Warsaw. And that will be, correct me if I'm wrong, legal, that will be a first read. And after that reading, if, discussion continues, is this something that we should continue to explore, there will be another meeting and another reading on it. And many developments that you're seeing, I'm on Google Earth right now, many of the developments surrounding this bullseye, of acreage, oftentimes you don't have that situation. It comes here, they put in their homes, and we say goodbye, and the development begins. So it is a unique situation where you're going to have to step up to the plate, or continue to, and work through it, as well as protections for everybody in this room. There won't be one elected official in the city of Warsaw that can ignore this for the next 2, 3, 4 months as progression continues, which I think is a good thing, not only for everybody being directly influenced by this, but also our entire community, where we do see issues on 30. We do see issues on Old 30. We do see commercial, residential concerns. The school, several of the letters, we really appreciate those that were sent to us. Will the school be able to handle this? Remember, don't just think Harrison, all right? Remember the school district, every child that comes into the school system is a very good benefit on a variety of fronts for our school system. And our school system will district. They'll work through this year after year after year. We have several teachers in this room. I'm one of them, okay? And I don't want to speak for the school board, I don't want to speak for Dr. Hoffert, but encouraging, okay, affordable housing, okay, which, again, that's even debatable here. I'm hearing you say 275, 300, 400,000, okay? Smaller lots because there's no septic system. There's sewage that will be offered, and there's also public utility with water. And so that makes it a unique system. But back to Dr. Hoffert and the school board, I think that they would be very interested, okay, in seeing more young people come into this community. The community, I often say, the most valuable resource is youth, okay? Do we want parents driving 10, 15, okay, 20 miles to get to work, okay? Kohl's, McDonald's, okay, Zimmer Biomet, you name it. Or do we want them living in our own community? Okay, that's the question for me here. I appreciate everybody's comments and concerns. That is, again, beating a dead horse, Brent, sorry. That's the purpose of this meeting. And man, we appreciate you being here, all right? We appreciate you attempting to address these startup preliminary questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Got two things. One, retention versus, what was the other term?
Give your name again right away. I guess they want to.
Yeah.
Would you give your
Okay.
name again right away real quick?
Pardon?
Would you give your name again real quick?
Oh, Martin Coomer, Kummer, 2033 Barberry Drive. Our backyard on Lot 50 is a detention where it drains, and when it does rain, we have a drain on the street on both sides of the cul-de-sac that is out front of our house that drain into our backyard with a 10-inch plastic pipe. That water does flood my backyard. It goes away after about a day, usually. And that's just two drains on Deeds Creek. The next two drains are down at almost near the curve on Old North Orchard. And if you talk about 14 of these versus 4 or 5 that we got in Deeds Creek. But the other thing is, you talk about the density of, what was it, 69 acres? No, 69 acres, roughly. Of that, there's 4 major retention ponds, so that's about 20 to 25% of the acreage. So the density is a lot higher, and I just did a quick calculation, maybe somewhere between 4 and 5 houses per acre. Now, I think it depends on the acreage of the retention ponds. It's the way I look at it. If that's what it is, that's what it is. But I think it's a little high density to build stick-built trailer, to not use a derogatory term, but a stick-built trailer park is what it is. Does Warsaw want to present that type of image to the public as the new development to grow? But I recommend to the board that you table this vote on this tonight until Jeff and his development crew and team come back with a new proposal and plat that addresses a lot of these issues. That's my recommendation to this board, to table it, not decline it, because we do need development. We need new housing, but I don't believe this is the type of image or housing that the city of Warsaw and Kosciuszko County need.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Shayna Messmore. I live at 216 Briar Ridge Circle, Warsaw, Indiana. You might recognize that as the apartment complex of Briar Ridge, okay? I'm currently in the housing market, been searching for houses in Warsaw the past year and a half. Obviously, economy's tough. Jeff brought up the point of youth. I am a true millennial, went to college, have college debt. It's hard to buy a home right now for someone in their 30s. I want to express, here in the price range that Jeff said, that does not make it an affordable home for a single person, actually soon to be a family, husband and wife getting together. It's cheaper for me to go to Milford or New Paris, where homes start at $250,000 instead of $275,000 plus. Again, concern of the quantity there. Do you want to rip away history, right? Farmland. That's what makes Indiana special. And put houses packed upon packed. My other concern then is the lake depth. If you look at how many houses back up to those lakes and they want to fill them with families, you can't guarantee every kid knows how to swim. You can put rocks around them, theoretically, but the one in the bottom left corner is huge. How do you know a child's not going to have an accident? Maybe it's too many lakes and they need to refigure that out. Those are my concerns, and I would agree that tabling this seems like the most appropriate recommendation. It needs to be re-reviewed for fewer houses. If they want it to be affordable, make it as affordable as it is outside of Warsaw. I work remote, so I have the option to live anywhere. I choose to live here because my family's been here forever. My parents own that corner lot. Both my parents have stood here. I have pride for the city. I have pride for the county. I think it's best for you guys to consider, how do you let youth continue to have pride here? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Shelley Helton.
You can pull it down.
Thank you. It's hard being short. I live at 803 North Old Orchard Drive in Deeds Creek. And I just want to say, when we built our house in 2000 in Deeds Creek, we built it to have somewhere kind of out in the country-ish. So little did we know this all was going to be developed. And our family's not for it at all, basically. I mean, it's already getting developed with the other addition that's over there, and that's hard enough. My husband works at Depew, and that road along that stretch, people try to walk and ride their bikes along there, and it's dangerous. I mean, that three-way stop, people are running the stop signs all the time. I weed at our entrance, so I see it all the time. And just the traffic coming from like Hickory Estates that way, every way, the traffic's just awful. So I just want to tell you, my opinion is that I'm just not even for developing any more on that road at all. My kids are college age too, and like she said, they couldn't afford any of that either. They're living at home probably for a while because they're just, even apartments around here are just, you just can't afford to live in them. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Brent Messmore, 2179 East, 75 North. You guys made a comment, now's the time to bring it to their attention. Just when you do it, buses, we gotta get, those cul-de-sacs that gotta be big enough to turn buses around. I mean, we just gotta, take all this, like Jeff said, we want kids, we want youth. That many houses, are we gonna be able to have room to turn the buses around?
Well, to that question, Aaron, that's...
Yeah, we have standards. Those are things that are easy. Those are easy stuff to resolve. But it's a fair point.
You guys made a comment.
There's probably
tonight,
some that have been built that don't meet it, so I can understand the comment. But we do absolutely have a standard that we won't sacrifice from that'll achieve that goal.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
So I just wanted to not correct, but maybe more accurately describe what the process is. So tonight's been exactly how it should go. People express their concerns about whether they think this is a good idea for a plat, whether it's a good idea to have entrances here or there, whatnot. This board's going to either approve moving this forward to be considered by the city council or reject it, probably tonight. Maybe they'll table it, I don't know. If it gets approved to move forward as is, then that's generally when Aaron works a lot harder and starts figuring out some of the technical stuff, along with the people at Oakmont Development. They have engineers, the Thomases have their people, and the technical aspects the money starts getting spent on all that. And then it's going to go to the city council. And then that's going to be the first reading of the city council. The city council is either going to approve it or not approve it preliminarily as the primary plat. The next step after that would be the city council will determine whether they want to take on their shoulders the second look, the final plat, or whether they want to refer it back to this board to make the second approval, the final approval, the final technical aspects. So that's how it goes from here. It's going to, if it goes past here, it would be looked at publicly 2 more times.
It would just be the one public city council meeting, potentially 2 if they hear back, but it wouldn't necessarily be a public hearing.
Correct. So that's going to be, so kind of the big meeting is tonight's a big meeting, obviously, because it could be shot down right now, or it could be, I think there's some directions that they're kind of being given by at least some people I know that are on the council that are providing some directions, but the money's going to be spent, the big money's going to be spent on the engineering, the designs, all this stuff, and you're kind of going to have a really good idea what the finished product looks like at the city council meeting. As Justin said, keep an eye out for that, and then they're going to.
Yeah, one thing, the city council meeting doesn't necessarily, they don't have to have every detail ironed
Correct.
out. So there may be a request for more information where we dive a little bit more into the drainage or some of the concerns, or we can look at, but they don't have to have a final plat at the city council meeting. I just want to make sure that nuance is.
So the number of lots will be determined at that city council meeting. They'll have to approve that. They'll have to approve basically where the roadways are. The final exact specific technical details will probably be left for further review, but just so everybody knows. And so Justin, you said keep an eye out on the city website. It posts all of our meetings, whether it be a BZA meeting, a plan commission meeting, the city council meeting, and it'll have the agendas that will get posted.
Yeah, we don't yet know. The developer may know their intentions as far as when they're going to apply. They may be able to give us an idea today. They may not, because they have to produce some documents. They have to put together the ordinance. They have to do the publications and stuff. So there may be a lag time between when they apply. If they know the date, they might be able to fill us in tonight, but we don't know yet when they're intending to go to the city council. It won't be this next meeting. It won't be this month. So if that helps anybody.
So the two of you, legal and plan department, this meeting tonight is giving the developer an opportunity not only to present his intent to our board, but also it allows the entire public to hear. And before a lot of resources and money are spent by the public, taxpayers' expense, and the developer, this information is going to help all parties. And then they will do their work, we'll do our work, the city side, and then it will go before every elected official in the city of Warsaw for consideration, because it is in fact a PUD. Am I understanding that right? Is that what you're saying to me? Okay.
Ma'am, we have plenty of time, so if anybody
Yeah.
has anything they want
Yeah.
to say, we want to hear you
Right.
tonight. Like, be heard if you
I
want.
apologize, I didn't see your hand.
I barely put it up before he called me out. So, my name's Kelly Blair. I live at 455 North Lincoln Park in Warsaw. Our subdivision butts up against the field, which is now currently a field, which will be the development. I did have some questions, because in the beginning, it sounded like Jeff had identified the water as being detention. But then I thought a member of the council had called it a retention. Is it detention? Are these detention ponds or retention?
Well, again, we're working through what these will all be as we get to that.
So everybody's guessing.
Yeah, we've said this repeatedly. Right now, this is what we've shown we need to do to capture the water the best we can. As we work through the outfall, that will determine on how much our water is, which lake is retaining whatever, which one is retaining and is passing through. So like I said, some of these lakes are connected through pipes, so the lakes will constantly be flowing through, and then at the very end, as Aaron mentioned, we will have a device that will then choke the water down, that releases it at a certain rate. So which pond is which and how we're doing that, we'll get to that.
Sure.
Everybody will get to know how we're handling.
So my thinking is when you explain the reason for no recreation area, because after you leave, who maintains it? But you're confident someone will maintain the water.
Correct. Again, this will be through the legal, this will all be done through the legal system, legal drain, because this is already part of the legal drain that goes through Deeds Creek. So again, it'll kind of, as I mentioned, it'll have two different sources. It'll have a homeowners association, as well as the legal drainage system is part of county, city, surveyor's office, Aaron's office, however, wherever the blockage or the problem might be, that they will also have jurisdiction over anything that happens within the drainage system.
Thanks. And I thought, I'm sorry I have all these questions, I'm a first timer. In the beginning, someone had mentioned that this actual case, this hearing was brought to your committee because you're used to dealing with this in a manner that the next committee maybe isn't. But your position is, once it gets to the next committee, they'll figure it out. But it sounds like they sent it to you to make these determinations. Am I mistaken there?
Any type of request to build comes to Plan Commission first. If it's outside of like the normal.
Always.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So it comes to Plan Commission first. What we're used to looking at is these kind of pictures. And we're, like here, I don't know if you noticed, but when he was talking, I was showing you where the drain is already in here between these two ponds. You know, like, just so you have an idea. So we're used to looking at this and looking for that. I'm used to looking at this and saying, oh, there's no green space here, you know. There's nothing blocked off. But when it goes to city council, it doesn't mean that city council's never seen this before, because they have, and they're used to it. And city council's the legal body, you know, that's, we are too, I'm floundering here, but city council is the oversight, the overseers of all of it. And so Plan Commission just makes a recommendation tonight to city council. Yes, we think you ought to consider this. And when those of us that are here tonight that are on city council, we will present a lot of your concerns to them and say, these are the things that were brought up at Plan Commission that we asked the developer to begin to look at, you know, and then we'll look at what he comes back with to city council, and he may have already addressed some of those. Or he may have said, well, let's hope that city council doesn't want the same things. I know he doesn't do that. He's really good working with us. And then it would go to the city council. And then the final plat is the one we're talking about that's going to have all the stuff on it that you guys want to see. How deep are the ponds? How wide are the roads? You know, where are the corners? Where are the street lights? Where are the sidewalks? Where are the, you know, how far back is it set from the road now? All of those kind of things. And the city council can either choose to say, yeah, we want the final say on this, or they can send it back here saying, these guys look at that stuff all the time. We're going to send it back to them, and they can make the decision.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Does that help any? I know it's confusing. Yeah.
It does. So being in Lincoln Park, I'm not in the city limits. This proposed addition, of course, is further out of town than I am. But it
Yes.
is, you know, it's been annexed. So it feels like a foregone conclusion, right?
Right.
But we do have questions.
Well, and as we mentioned before, and Justin, I don't know if you can answer this off the cuff, and it's not a fair question to ask, I guess, but if this wasn't a planned unit development and it was just a regular R1, how many lots would be in this area?
I like that question.
Thank you.
I haven't run that number, but you might have a better idea.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Rest assured, it would make it unaffordable to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could take a look and see.
Keeping in mind for all of us.
Well, and
This
again-
meeting is not just an introduction to the public for a project or an introduction to the Plan Commission. It's an educational experience for our developers to look at our community and look at the demographics, which they have already spent a lot of money and time doing, saying, this is what's needed in that community. This is the school kids they have to have family housing for. Somebody just didn't dump 100 and some acres or 62 acres on a developer and say, let's put some houses out there. What can you sell them for? What can you sell them for? What can you build them for? Can they be useful there? And I assure you, if you have looked at any development that these people have done anywhere, they have absolutely no resemblance to a stick-built trailer park.
Right.
Correct.
They are beautifully done, well-designed, landscaped, curbs, sidewalks, streets. So it's a more than just a two-way street, it's a three- or four-way street. Our job to determine, do we need housing? What kind of housing do we need? What can it sell for to support the workers that are being attracted to our community? Is this the type of development in a location going forward that's good for the citizens of our city? So it's, and this is not by any means very far down the road in this detailed sequence. This is an initial outlet only for planning purposes going forward. This is a pretty well-planned community altogether. We have some terrible things that we've missed in the way of major arterials connecting our county. But altogether, the city has done a really good job and does a better job all the time with the county. So this is initially a planning sequence and is no way going to be filled with the technical details that you all will become intimately involved with as the process moves forward.
And I appreciate that, Jim. And again, the other reason I can't answer that, when we laid this out, when we originally had met with staff and talked about going the PUD route, we laid it out for this. If I had gone through a different zoning, I probably had a whole different layout. It'll probably look a lot different than what's on the board here. So that's why I really can't answer that. This is the direction in sitting down initially on what we were looking at is why we laid it out this way. We didn't really look at laying this out on a whole bunch of different scenarios. We found this to be our best solution at the time.
So this doesn't specifically answer her question of how many would be there if it was just R1, and you don't have this information maybe in front of you for a guess, but in the analysis that Justin provided to everybody up here, they say that all but 25 of the proposed 169 lots have sizes that would conform with an R1 residential zoning requirement. So my math is at least 144, or maybe only 144, however you look at it, but 144 of the 169 lots conform with the residential zoning size requirements of an R1. So it appears 25 do not, but...
And that's actually 26, I'm sorry. I corrected it in my comments, but I didn't correct it on the sheet.
Well, so either way, it looks somewhere around 144 of the 169 would qualify to be in conformity with an R1, and the other 26 would not.
And
So-
one other facet to this I wanted to add is the city's comprehensive plan that was done about 8 years ago now, in 2015, called for medium density residential in this area. And that ranges anywhere from 3 houses per acre to 5. So just to give you some perspective on what the community voted on and the council adopted 8 years ago as a trajectory for the community and what this area could be, that's what the council approved or agreed upon was a good direction for the community in this area, 3 to 5 per acre, and we're at just under 3.
And to address your comment too, Shannon, I just want to address that. I don't want to let it go. These are more medium-level houses, and the hope is that the people that are in entry houses that have no place to move to, because there's nothing in this price range, they'll move up and open some homes for you, just like you're hoping to move up into a retirement home. That we get that kind of movement. So that's kind of the way the housing works. I didn't understand when at first, because they say affordable housing, I'm like, well, who can afford this? And then they started, like the average worker that has a 2-income family home that's working, that's who can afford this kind of house. And hopefully we'll get them out of the kind of houses that you want to buy so that there'll be something for you to buy then.
Can I address that, Diane, if you mind?
Sure.
Well, let him finish, and I'll let you come back up. Go ahead.
Matt Foreman, 2086 Barberry Drive. Matt Foreman, 2086 Barbary Drive. And I just have a quick question for Diane. You gave us a good description of the process about us accepting or rejecting today. And could you give us an idea of how often you accept or reject? And
So we're bound
And what
to
for?
accept something that meets legal requirements. There's a couple questions about this as to whether or not they've addressed every requirement on here. So as an entity, we can't just refuse something because we don't like it, but we also, the kicker in here is is it good for the area? And that's what you guys are bringing up to us. So that's the one that's very subjective, that we can't, do it by numbers. It has to be, what's going on around us. So I don't know that I have a percentage over the history of what we do, but, yeah, and maybe you can speak to that. Did you want to say something about that more?
I think the planned unit development is a little bit different than normal platting in that if Oakmont had came with a plat that conformed in every way to just an R1, then there's really no input from anybody. If they come and they're in conformity with all the platting of an R1, then it almost assuredly needs to be approved because they've met the law and the standards. When it's a planned unit development, there's more input from the community because they're deviating somewhat from the zoning restrictions and what they're going to have there. And I think there's a lot more input that's taken into consideration when there's a planned unit development, because a regular plat would not require there to be green space for the children to play, so to speak. I mean, I compare it to Deeds Creek, which is across the street. I believe that was probably a regular plat that conformed with R1, and it just got platted by the developer and got approved, and y'all live there now. And I don't know whether you have a good homeowners association or a bad homeowners association. I have no idea. But the planned unit development, these processes happen and people give input. Everybody on this board considers that as they're sitting here tonight. They're going to pass, if it moves forward, their thoughts on to the city council. You're all going to come back and tell the city council what you think as well. That's an additional step in designing a planned unit development that really doesn't occur in just regular platting. So I think there's probably more public input in these planned unit developments than what you would ever get if it was just a flat zoning requirement to meet the R1, because if they're in conformity, Justin would stand up and say they're in conformity with all the R1s, we need to approve it. So I think it's a benefit probably for the neighbors to get to say everything that they want to say, which is why we're encouraging everybody to speak up tonight if they have something to say, and come back to the city council if it gets approved tonight, and speak up to the city council people. They're elected. And say what you want to say. And I'm sure Oakmont Development's listening to the things that are being said tonight, and ideally they address some of those concerns, and the people here with concerns maybe have fewer concerns if they meet some of them between this first preliminary plat and the plat that they submit to the council. So I guess that's what I would say about all that.
Real quickly, I think Jeff, Jim, Diane, we've all been involved with PUDs for a lot of years. I'm not aware of any where all these same issues don't come up, but at the end of the day, I don't know of any where they've come back and said, boy, this was a mistake. It all seems to work out by the time you go through the process. And I mean, if you know differently, don't be afraid to speak up.
In my 25 years on this board, 24 of them as an elected official, PUDs are very unique. Like I've said earlier, and like Legal just mentioned, that there are a lot of eyes that are on it. Elected, unelected, developers, neighbors, the whole 9 yards. I will admit 25 years ago, if I looked at this, if Diane goes helicopter view and you compare it to county properties, that I'd say, boy, that looks like a lot of lots on there. But remember, except for the 26, that will probably be, what are they going to be, condo, what are you going to do with the 26? What, duplexes? And that's why they're seeking PUD. The rest of it, they're following the rules of the city. And then also, you take a look at all the lakes, okay? I would have said lake 25 years ago. Those are detention, retention, potential ponds, okay, that can sort of scare people with water, but that is a good thing. Have you ever been to Lincoln School? Remember the old school? I've lived there for 24 years on Clark Street. Flooding, just normal rain would come down. Rain comes, flood. When the new school was built, take a walk over there, you will see lots of, okay, ponds, okay, to keep all the water on site. And since the new school's been built, there hasn't been flooding on Lincoln, is where it used to be. My kids used to ride their bikes through it, okay? And so this kind of stuff that we're looking at tonight, very concerned. I agree, and boy, we're so thankful for the input, and I'm sure the developer is too. This helps us, okay? See, okay, exactly what they're doing and then make these kinds of adjustments in the coming weeks. May or may not get approved, but again, I've noticed with PUDs, the council, there will be 7 council members, and then you will have the mayor, and we will be hearing all of this. And you will be right here as well to work through. The PUDs, you can change them, you can work with the developer. And the neat thing is the developer needs to work with the community directly, right here in this area, and then also for the entire community.
Thanks, Jeff. As a Plan Commission member for almost as many years as Jeff.
You're not as old as me, that's why. All right, good.
I wish.
All right.
No line.
A planned unit development, I feel, from what I've seen the past, 14 years or so, gives the best opportunity to exchange the most information between the developer, the community, and our city planners, engineers, and specialists. I think they're a good idea, a good project, and I've come to believe in them. I like them.
Yes, sir.
We told Shannon she could.
No, you can go, he's fine.
Oh, that's right. God, it's been so long.
William Smith, 1355 North Shagbark Drive. I've been in you guys' shoes. I was on the planning board in Ashland, Oregon, and we had contentious things like this come up. I think one of the things that I've seen and been in this, I guess I'm Kosciuszko by choice. I moved here, purposely said, I'm going there.
Thank you.
So I feel I like this place a whole lot. I want to see the best for it. When I first moved out to Hickory Estates, 225 was a gravel road because the city did not repair it. I am concerned that with the addition of additional traffic, we're going to have another gravel road out there.
No, we don't have gravel roads in this city.
The other thing is that there are a lot of people that go up and down 225, and they runners and walkers from Depew. So I'm just concerned about the additional traffic, and I guess mine is more of a general concern about the amount of traffic that's going to be there. And I'll quit beating that dead horse. Thank you.
I think you need to push for a greenway. That's what I'd like to see going there, because I did the same thing. I go jogging up and down there. And,
Yeah, that would be,
and
a
even
greenway would be nice.
15 years ago when I was still there, it was a little hectic with traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to work on that. Ms. Messmore, you've been patient. Thank you.
I'm bringing my phone up with me just as a data point here. So like I said, I've been in the housing market for about a year and a half, and it's finally gotten to a point where houses are not selling as fast. So I quickly searched while I was sitting there. Currently in City of Warsaw, and I look at this about 4 times a day, a little bit larger because I'm just curious, but in the City of Warsaw today, you guys have 45 houses already on the market. Wouldn't it be good for me to just have one of those too, to buy one of those, and then I could put my money into that? That's my point to this. I know people can adjust and changes happen, and then lower income, higher income homes, but as it stands today, 45 houses on Zillow, that's a good spot to be. So let's focus on those homes, get people into those before we add too many where they're not going to be filled like some other residents in the county or in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience got missed? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Natalie Brown.
Oh, boy.
My name's Natalie
Can you
Brown.
move that mic down closer?
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Hi, my name's Natalie Brown, and my husband and I moved from in town in 2020 because we wanted to live in a rural area. We were tired of living in town when things weren't controlled and things were just going downhill in town and our property value. And so we moved to Deeds Creek, and we love it out there. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and we have room, and I just cringe at the thought of a whole bunch more traffic and a whole bunch more people, and the value of our home. I am, when I hear duplex, that makes me concerned because I don't want the values of our homes to go down. So I love it where we live, and I love the area, and I just don't want it to decrease in value, and the peace and the quiet, and with all of the extra traffic. That's my concern.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else?
Jeff, you might want to address that, because I think of your house is more like villas than duplexes. The ones I've seen. Why don't you tell them where your other developments are in town in case they want to go and look
Well,
at
Greenbrier, out by the airport, we've done a community, 2 of them in Winona Lake as well. So, we're in this area. We're continuing to be here because of a need for housing and growth. And these other neighborhoods we've done here continue to see families and community move here. We're seeing a lot of people that move here from outside of the area, and as well as within, but there's a big need. There's a lot of jobs and a lot of things still happening here in Warsaw that are very positive, and that's why we're here doing what we do, because we're trying to fill a need. Going back to the duplexes, those are more like villas. They are attached, but again, we're going to maintain those. That's going to be part of the homeowners association. Is those are going to be mowed on Thursday, and they're going to be fertilized 4 or 5 times, and the beds are going to be taken care of, and we're going to make sure that that's taken care of. That isn't going to be something that'll be done by the individual homeowners. That'll be done actually through the association. And kind of going back through the zoning things, I think Justin would know better. If we took that out and we just made that single family, we probably wouldn't be. We'd probably been done with this meeting a long time ago. But that is what his need is here in Warsaw. That's why we've done a PUD with you guys here this last year. And again, we have found that to be the best way to go about doing zoning and working with the staff. We've enjoyed working with everybody and the team in Warsaw. We've had numerous meetings on a whole bunch of different projects. And again, this seems like the best way in dealing with staff and everybody that provides the best product for us to work with, and ultimately the end result for Warsaw. So again, going back to the PUD and the zoning, certainly we could have gone and just done the zoning thing, met the requirement, and we'd have been done. But again, we're not meeting the need of what Warsaw needs and what we're trying to communicate and work through in the community. So that's why we're going the PUD direction.
If someone wants to see what a villa looks like, do you have a website that they can go to online if they're...
No, I don't build houses. I just do the development work. So that is something that as we work through Greenbrier, actually, and that'll be in our next section, as you guys, we worked with you guys on that, on the PUD on that, that'll take place. We're doing that in more areas now than ever. It used to be we didn't do duplex and villa-type communities. We just did single-family. We're just, the difficulty is, again, going back to what you said, we need to get to a product. We need to create a product that, from an affordability, at least gives us a shot to get more people into this area. And that's one of those that is a kind of a tool that allows it to do it. Your PUD allows those to happen, and we're just, the best way to put this in the construction industry, it's just a tool in the toolbox that we're using that you guys provide. So this is the reason we went that way, and also the reason that one street has that. Like Justin said, the rest of the lots meet your regular zoning. We really wouldn't have any problems. But we're trying to do what's best community-wise of what we see from a need.
You didn't mention a price point, and I won't hold you to anything, but with the duplexes, what's the price point there?
Again, we're looking at probably starting in that $275 range.
With the duplexes?
With the duplexes.
And then
Single family will probably be more than that.
Yeah.
On just the starters.
Yeah, 275 to 350, and then some of them could even be more than that.
Correct.
On some of the properties, right?
Yes, yes.
You're talking about all properties, villas and houses?
Yeah, just the ballpark, and I'm not holding you to it, but just perspective here that.
That's just, we'll see what, again, we'll see what demand is, whether there's 2 stories or what size that ends up being, but, or certainly whether there's, bigger garages, but we'll work through that as we, we're a little ways from that yet. We haven't got to that
To
point.
Ms. Mesmore's point about the price, not being able to afford, is it fair to say that construction workers cost a fortune because the 08, 09, they all retired and went, or did something else and haven't come back?
Well, certainly that's
And
a
then
problem.
we're in a high inflation period and all the products have gone through the roof.
Inflation obviously hit our industry as hard as anybody's, and it's very difficult. Truthfully, I would love to come and provide a subdivision that probably starts more in that 215 to 220 range, up to maybe 350, but we can't get there.
Yeah.
We just can't do it. We're starting to look at product. Some different product, not apartment, so to speak, because again, as she mentioned, even apartments are expensive right now. We're starting to look into now, and something we'd like to do here is some townhome product that we could do. We wouldn't need 63 acres to put townhomes. We'd have 200 of them. 250 of them on here. We wouldn't do that, but we'd like to have some acreage to be able to do some townhome products and something that brings that price down, that captures a little bit more people, that gives them something of their own that they can own, but a little different product. Again, it's not something that's been done very often here from a certain price point that I'm thinking, but something we would look at. This isn't that area to do that, but we're looking at all kinds of different housing options at this point. It used to be, going back to your point, even 6-7 years ago, none of this was much of an issue because we were so affordable. Land was affordable, infrastructure cost, and housing was, that everybody could afford a little bit bigger lot and a little bit bigger house and still have a mortgage rate and everything price-wise be in a pretty good market. Today, inflation-wise, over what's happened the last 3 years, it's just not the case.
Yeah, kill us. Okay. Not your fault.
No, we'd like to, but we still have to provide housing, right? So we're trying to figure out different ways to do that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that didn't have a chance to speak that wanted to? Okay. Well, Brent, I'm going to steal your phrase, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to say it one more time. You don't have to wait till the next meeting. If you have a particular piece of property or a particular issue you want to do a deep dive on, then make a call to the city planner's office or to the city engineer, go in and talk to them, and spend the time making sure that your issue is being addressed, and then see where things are at. So don't feel like you're being kept in the dark. We're all working for you, so you're paying the money, you're paying the taxes, and we work for you. So that said, if there's no further questions, anybody from the board, anything else they want to address? Okay, well then, we'll close it to the public, and we'll open it to the panel here and see where we're at. And everybody can't just look at the floor either. Dan?
Well, I'll speak up. Yeah, a couple of issues. One is I'm looking to retire, but I'd like to retire to a teeny home, as small as possible. And there's a lot of other people like that don't want to upkeep, don't want to go upstairs, so that's one issue. The other thing was price points for your house in one subdivision to another. I look at about a 4,000-foot radius of this area, and there's an extreme amount of diversity of housing sizes. And when I was in real estate, you do a comp on that house compared to a similar house in a similar neighborhood. You wouldn't do a comp on a house in one type of a neighborhood to another. So that kind of repudiates that type of argument for house prices. I've heard so many of my fellow workers saying, if I just had a house that had a working bathroom and kitchen and one bedroom, I'm happy. So seeing developers that come out with smaller houses is a great need. 169, how about 2,000 maybe? Smaller homes that people could afford. So that's all I have.
Which actually
I'm
is the number
for
that we're
this.
supposed to need, right? We need 2,000 homes. That's the number I keep hearing. I don't know, Jeff, Diane, what do you hear?
No comment.
No comment? Okay.
Can't remember.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, one comment I had was, when I looked at it, all the retention ponds were a concern for me. And I kept hearing this 2.7, and I agree, there's about 25 to 30% of this property that's gonna be retention pond. So it's probably more like 3.7 instead of 2.7. But that still fits in the guidelines of the 3 to 5 range. So I think we're fine. I don't have a problem with it, but that was a little concern that I had at first when I was looking at the amount of retention basin compared to the property basin. Because I don't think that 2.7 is an accurate number. I'd say 3.7 is probably more accurate because of taking out the retention ponds.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I was just going to share that I feel like one of the overwhelming concerns, and we hear that multiple, is drainage. It's what people do worry about when you're going to have development. But I feel like we have good ordinances and standards in place, and as long as we do comprehensively review the plan and ensure that they're sticking to our requirements, you actually might see less standing water out in the neighborhoods other than these pond areas. But I feel confident we can work through that. And I'd be glad for anybody who wants to dig into those technical details along the way. I'll share the reports, and you're welcome
And
to
Aaron,
see
to
that
assure
information.
that the tiles and, the drainage is the correct size for, before it goes forward, is the correct size for what we're anticipating.
Yeah, correct. Right, immediately, we need to talk to, their engineers might already have talked to the county surveyor's office, but we need to get them involved. County Highway has some say in this too, because these roads, the city owns only portions of these roads, so we need to talk to the county highway as well as the county surveyor's office, and I'm confident that we can work through those technical matters on this satisfactory.
The other comment I had that I thought was a good one that was brought up was the entrances were aligned with each other, and they thought that might cause more traffic, and they wanted it separated. My experience is that just caused more blockage, and in the future, if they line up, then you can have more controlled access with either a stoplight or a roundabout or stop signs or so forth. But if you've got them spread apart, say 3 or 4 different lots, you're gonna just immediately create a traffic jam.
That's an interesting thought, a roundabout there, yeah, the same spot.
So it is correct that what they did was lining those entries points. That's the best way to do it instead of having it separate. That may not seem right when you think about the flow and the entrance, but it is correct. Because I've seen where you've had T intersections and it causes more jam, more freezing up of the traffic.
I think it was the developer that said they're not aligned.
I heard it the other way.
They're not, and I believe it's a challenge because of the location of Mr. Messmore's property might
Okay, I thought they were.
restrict those from being able to be aligned properly.
Okay. That's a concern then for me, I guess. I thought they were aligned.
I think someone suggested it, but I don't think that's the way it is now, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and
Right, it's not like
I
that.
fear it would be challenging to do that because of,
He's saying they're not aligned.
Over here, we're working on that. Yeah, sorry, this is.
Okay, I thought I heard it the other way.
This is their entrance.
Okay.
And this is ours. But as you can see, they're up again. We don't own this.
Right.
So we don't have big enough room right here to line up exactly with them. Over here, we're working on what that looks like, but here, there's not enough room to do that. I think you've already looked at that.
It's a challenge unless you're gonna be able to put them right across and control them.
Yeah.
You wanna spread them as far as you can,
Yeah.
so.
What I
Either
mentioned
you're
is
further away,
we-
yeah.
Yeah, what I mentioned is we might have to pull back a little bit.
Like slide over to
Yeah,
this lot or something.
yeah.
West,
Okay, that
go
would make more
west.
sense. Okay.
Further west, you said?
Then you can make green space on that lot.
Which one are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's right. Yeah, I just didn't want to see them too close to each other. Or further apart, correct?
You
Yeah,
can't come in and out.
I don't imagine they want a road right against their property
Yeah, that would be a
either,
problem.
so.
Right,
So we're working through, that's why I was saying we might have to pull back a little. I don't know,
Yeah.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at that and make sure we're not creating
Okay.
right off the bat.
Thanks, thanks.
Drainage, density, and traffic.
Yeah.
It's always a very legitimate concern of all of you that will have to live closest to a project like this. Our job is to try to make sure that in the final analysis, the technical detail is able to get done, to be achieved, to make it a worthwhile project for our community overall.
I would just reiterate what Jeff and Jim just said. I've been involved with a number of PUDs over the years, and the same issues always come up that Jim just mentioned, and they always get worked through. And at the end of the day, the biggest problem a lot of times is just a paradigm shift. Everybody's used to seeing this pastoral grassland out there, and all of a sudden it's gonna be gone, But the only answer to that is, unfortunately, you gotta buy the land, otherwise it's gonna get developed. That's the way it is. So, the issues will get worked through. I encourage you to be involved in that process, and I'm fairly confident we're gonna get a good result at the end.
Yeah, and I guess I might just make one final comment. You guys have mentioned tabling this. I've most often seen this table at the city council level, where we take all of these concerns, we ask the developer to address them, and if they're not addressed fully when it gets to city council, more often, in fact, we've done it, probably of half of them, we've gotten at the beginning and said, hey, this still isn't, looking like it's going in the right direction.
Or refer back to
Or we
plan.
referred it back to plan and said, work further with them, referred it back to our planner, our engineer, and we want to see it again before we would approve it there. So it most often gets tabled at the next level rather than this level, where at this level, we're saying, okay, you got a concept here, there's concerns here, can you address them? What's it going to look like then? And then when we see
Yeah,
that.
and I'd say from this side, and I understand the concerns and then frustrate new change, all that. This first meeting preliminary is actually a protection for you. And it does help the developer understand not only our questions, we sit here, and we've been just 2 elected officials, the rest are citizens like you volunteering, and they come in here every month and they do this for a pizza. And again, great appreciation for this group. You do get paid that much. You know what I mean? Great appreciation. But back to, it's protecting you and allowing them to work through, because a lot of resources and money are going to start to kick in. And would you want them to do all that work? And then we just said no, okay, that kind of thing. They're trying to get a feel for it from the board who represents you and listening. I really appreciate it, Rick, willing to listen to everybody, and nobody listens to us. I hope that you feel like you've been listened to. And we continue to explore this. The great thing for me is we have a developer that is interested in providing a need for this community. And it's legitimate. And doing the best we can to work through it. I just don't think we can ignore the continued exploration and work to see, okay, can we get to the point where all these concerns are addressed and we can welcome new neighbors inside the city limits. I see our seal over there living is the first one, okay? Working and playing. Now that's the goal from my seat. Not easy for you, but again, I just appreciate this process and everybody's willingness as a community. The one gentleman before, I came here and I've done this before, both sides of the fence. I just appreciate this exercise. Maybe going government teacher on you right now for 35 years, 2 weeks left. This is what I would want my students to see. Some of you are former students in here. The process. So I really appreciate it. I would say I would like to continue to move forward and look and urge the council after more research and all the things that need to be done to publicly wrestle with this for the good of the community. That's just me talking.
Okay, was that a motion or just a suggestion?
No, I don't want to, I'll wait because I don't think everybody's spoken, but on the board.
Does anybody else have any comments, board?
Well, I'll comment. I feel like we heard really good information from the community. And I'm sorry, my voice is cracking right now.
I'm going deaf, so it's not you.
Okay. But I do feel like we didn't hear a whole lot of arguments against the PUD, and so we really should move forward and vote, because I feel like we're about ready for that. So I think we've taken into consideration all of their concerns, and the council will take that into their judgment when we pass this along.
Okay, was that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for your time and attention. And don't stop being involved. You know, it doesn't stop here, so remember what I said. We work for you. Hey, Brent, can you come up real quick?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know I was going to make a motion, but turned into that.
I wasn't noticing it in this picture. There it is, playing with this. Pointed out.